Good morning, everyone. I invite you to close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath in. And on the out breath, just letting go. Just letting go of all your stress, all your worries. And we have plenty that we could get caught up in these days. So I'm really just inviting you to let go of all of it for right now while we're together. Just to create a sanctuary of peace within your heart. That peace, that love, that joy, that very God essence is always with you. In fact, it is the truth of who you are. And sometimes it's easy to forget that. We get caught up in all the happenings of the world. And it happened to me the other day. And when I came back, just to the present, back to the breath, I was so relieved. And so we can remember any time during the day when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling worried, just to catch ourselves and to take a nice deep breath and just simply notice the breath. Notice how the breath is happening all by itself, and all we're being asked to do is simply be aware of it. That's all. Just to simply notice the breath. And it's in that noticing, in that awareness, that we get a glimpse of the truth of who we are. The one that is witnessing life, witnessing our thoughts, witnessing our feelings. For some of you, it may sound strange because we're so used to using our minds, using our heads. But for right now, I'm inviting you to let go of that and just give it all over to God. And trust and have faith that God is giving each of us exactly what's needed when it's needed. And if that sounds hard for you to do, I would invite you just to explore with it just for this day. Just for one day to explore with what would it feel like to let go of my need to figure things out and to just simply have trust and faith that God is always giving me the answers. Always guiding me in a way that moves me back to a place of truth, which is love, peace, joy. So just bringing your attention to your breath. Notice how the body is breathing. It might be shallow or it might be deep. It might be quick or it might be slow. Whatever the body is doing, the breath that it's giving, just simply notice it. Just be aware of it. I'm also going to invite you just to let go of all the past. Letting go of all the past. And I know sometimes we get so caught up in what I did or what I shouldn't have done. But for right now, I'm asking you to let all of that go. Just give it over to God. And I assure you, God is more than happy to take that burden from you. You weren't meant to feel guilt and shame your whole life because a mistake was made. All you need to do is learn from it and grow from it and give thanks, knowing that it is here to teach you. And so taking another deep breath in and letting Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's been a minute since I've been here, and so I'm very happy to be back. And thanks for coming in this very frigid weather this morning. I was noticing the talk today is on clarity, and we're doing a series of 7 weeks, which is sailing the 7 seas, the letter C. And so the C that I'm doing this week is on clarity. And I noticed how it was intertwined in quite a few things. Paul, when you were doing the prayer that you do, it talks about clarity in there. It talks about intention. And also there was things in what you were reading on guidance. So it's the same thing. When I was reading the script that I was given from the book, Sailing the 7 Seas, I was looking at it, and it honestly, it didn't fully resonate with me. So I'm like, I just want to just get a second opinion. I turned to ChatGPT, AI, and there's a lot of things that I don't like with AI, what's going on in the world. It can be very dangerous, actually. But what's also true is it can be very insightful, and it was insightful for me. I really enjoyed reading about it, and it took me in a direction that felt far more clear in my heart than the book itself. So as, I don't know, I want to say always, but as quite oftentimes I Bretonize things. So I am Bretonizing this year because that's what feels right in my heart, and I wouldn't want to do it other than that. So I want to start off with a quote. I was reading this on Facebook. I don't know actually who sent this. It was from a Buddhist group that I'm a part of, and I really liked it. It said, "The mind is like water. When it is agitated, it is difficult to see through. But when it settles, the answer becomes clear. The ability to still the mind in the midst of chaos is one of life's greatest skills." And I really find that to be true. I've made the mistake, quite frankly, in the past because I get a lot of guidance from Spirit. A lot of times I wouldn't make choices or do things because I was waiting on the guidance. And part of that is wonderful, to have trust and faith that we're going to get the guidance and the clarity that we need. But I will be honest with you, the mistake that I made was sometimes I wouldn't make any choice because I was waiting for clarity. And I remember there's a quote by, I think it was by Roosevelt, that said, the greatest action you could take, or the greatest choice you can make, is to make the right choice. The second thing is to make the wrong choice. The worst thing to do is make no choice at all. And so sometimes it comes down to that. I was listening to Gangaji recently, which I just totally love, the space that she comes from. And she had this to offer. In fact, I'm going to just invite you to close your eyes just for a second, or a little bit more than a second. So just notice, what is it that you really want out of life? What is it that you really want? And just, if you can, just be as brutally honest, with yourself. You could say, I want lots of money, or, I want the right relationship or right job. It can be external, or it can be internal. I want love, I want peace, I want God, whatever those things are. But just being honest with yourself. And then when you have that, what is it that you're hoping to get from that thing that you want? What is it that you're hoping to get from that thing that you're wanting? And now I would like to invite you to give up the search for that thing. To give up the search for it. That's the invitation. And you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. I don't know how that hit you, but with me, when I heard that, it was really beautiful. For a long time, I've really wanted nothing less than just awakening to the truth of who I am. because I feel everything pales in comparison. There's nothing more important. Like the more I discover the truth of who I am, I get the clarity that I'm looking for. There's so many things that I've become clear on. I had a friend of mine, we used to have conversations, deep spiritual conversations, and I would say things to him. And eventually he came back to me and he said, I have to admit, Brett, I really thought you were just so arrogant, you know. And he said, and I'm sure I have been many, many times, and it still happens. But in this moment, he said, I thought you were so arrogant. But he said, then I went through this awakening. And he said, I realized that what you were presenting was just clarity. You were really clear on who you are and what life is about. And so we had this really amazing conversation. So I know sometimes what I say sounds arrogant, and I'm not trying to be, but my wife keeps me in check, trust me. She's like, when I am being arrogant, because when we were first together, you know, it was kind of a relationship where I was the teacher and she was the student. And that's okay. That's how we got together. But as she continued to grow and step into that truth of who she was, she began to challenge me. And she said, there was a time that came and she's like, oh no, you don't. No, you don't. And she was very adamant, and she bit back in a way that I needed her to bite back, because it wasn't the right relationship that we were having. It should never be somebody is over. There's nothing wrong with teacher-student relationship, but if you put yourself in the teacher role as better than the other person, then hopefully you have a wife like mine that will remind you you're out of alignment there, sir. So that's what's happened, and it's really been quite good, because in Laura's life, she was gaslit a lot by her, particularly her mom. Both her mom and dad were alcoholics, and so, but her mom would just gaslight her. She was adopted, so there was, you know, maybe not that commitment that you would get from a parent, a biological parent. You know, I can't speak to that, but that would be my guess. And so she was just always being gaslit and being talked down to, and, you know, really feeling that she wasn't enough. So it was really the perfect, it's been the perfect relationship, because I, on the other hand, was so insecure that I masked that with my arrogance, you know, and I was always trying to prove my worth. I still do, but not near as much as I used to. And so we had this dynamics of where she kept saying, you're being so arrogant. And I said to her, and I was being honest, I don't know what that means. How am I being arrogant? I don't understand it. And I said, I'm doing my best, which was true. I really was doing my best, and I didn't want to feel bad about it. But I said that to a friend of mine who's also a speaker, and he said, yeah, Brett, but I don't think we're supposed to stop speaking, you know, because this is where we're at in life. I think we speak because we keep learning and growing from it, which was absolutely true. So the more Laura reminded me, like, no, that's not right, then there was a time where I saw, like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm somehow speaking in a way that is putting myself above others. And when I got a glimpse of that, it really opened up some beautiful doors for me to step into life with at least some humility. Maybe not a lot, but there's something there. And so I've just really been grateful for that. And now, Laura and I have been married for 25 years now. And I think probably most people would say last year was a challenging year. There was just so much going on. And we're supposed to be challenged because we have to be challenged to get clarity on who we really are. And those challenges were immense. I know one of my friends actually has done a lot of good in the world, comes from a very good heart space. He's a massage therapist, and he also does breath work. He was working on someone that loved his work for the first 2 times. On the 3rd time, she felt he had done something not only felt, but fully believed he had done something that was an assault. And the next thing I know, my friend is in prison. And I'm like, oh my God. But I'm really clear, for whatever reason, whether it was true or not true, I'm very clear that he is in exactly the right spot where he needs to be. And when I was talking to him, because he can make calls out, just 15-minute calls, and I said, I really hope this doesn't sound offensive to you, but I really feel like this is part of your awakening to go in this situation. He's being inundated with so much. It's cold in his room. He had just a 3-inch mattress, so the bars were underneath him where he'd feel it. He only had one blanket. Well, he actually had two, but he didn't have sheets, so he used one for the bottom, one for the top. And then he's a vegan, and so doesn't do gluten either. So the prison does not accommodate for any of these things. And so for him, he has been taken to the highest task. But I don't know what will happen. I do know that he is meditating a lot. I know that he is reading a lot of profound books. He is inundated with all this time. All he has is time, right? Time to read books, to meditate, to go within and keep asking the questions. And for me, I'm not wishing it on him, but I can't say that I'm wishing it that he's not experiencing that, because I feel really clear on the direction this is going. And of course, we know that if we're going to fight against life, we're going to suffer if we fight against life. So I feel like he's doing a pretty good job of not fighting against it and saying, okay, what can I learn from this whole thing? Whether it's right or wrong, whatever happened, it has been presented, and to me, everything is in divine order. Everything is in divine order. And the more I trust that and have faith with that, I love it. So getting back to this exercise that we just did, what is it that you really want? What is it you think you're going to get from that? And are you willing to let the search go for that? Why did I do that? I did that because when we give up the search, our mind becomes much more quiet. And what happened for me is I noticed that my mind was getting quieter, and I notice now that if my mind is busy, it's because it's trying to figure something out. But there's nothing to figure out. There is nothing to figure out. And I know we're so trained in this and engrossed in this whole thing, even from our school teachers, our parents are like, you need to figure this out. You need to get clear on this. But I'm not saying in getting clear that you get in your head to figure this out. I'm saying you get out of your head. If you've lost your keys, we all know the best way to find the keys is to surrender, to let it go. And quite oftentimes it's like, something happens where we find that answer. In fact, when I lose something, or Laura and I do, right away we just give it over to God. We give it over to God, and what happens is I'll find myself like, I'm looking for something, and I'll find myself like thinking about, I need to throw some laundry in. I'll go down there and throw the laundry in because that's how God was like working through me. I go down there to get the laundry and I go, oh, there's the exact thing I'm looking for. But to give it directly, sometimes our mind fights it or resists it or is looking for something. But when we get out of our head and we just go down what we're being guided to do, boom, the answer's there. And I don't know how many times for you guys, but it's like I pray for something, I'll either hear a song on the radio or I'll have a friend come up. I used to drive for a catering company, and I was mentioning I would drive about 40,000 miles a year, so I drove a lot, and I loved the silence and the quietness. And I always thought, what kind of job is this? I'm a degreed professional in the auto industry, and I'm doing catering and deliveries. I'm a delivery boy, and that's where my mind went with it. But I just got so much out of it, and I saw how much I enjoyed driving. And now I'm like, you guys need me to pick up anything? My wife, my son, and so I'm the errand boy now because I want to get out do that. But what I was going to say is sometimes in the morning when I was going to do my deliveries, I would be out of sorts, and I would just say, God, I'm out of sorts, and I just pray that you help me to get centered again, get back in my heart. And what happened on more than one occasion on my routes, I would run into somebody that was depressed or just really having a hard time. And I remember one person in particular was a friend of mine that I ran into at Plum Market, the health market that I was delivered to. And he told me everything was going on, how the banks had really were being deceptive and wanted to charge him more, and there was some process going on, and he was taking them to court. And I remember him saying, I'm going to fight for what's right, you know. And as he's saying this, I said to him, I said, you know, there's something Eckhart Tolle once said. If you're fighting for something, you're going to get a fight. You know, if you're wanting, it's like he described it as like stepping into a dark room and punching at the darkness, trying to get rid of it, when all you need to do is turn on the light, right? But that's what we do. We end up punching at the darkness, thinking somehow that we're fighting the darkness, that we're going to heal this. No, you have to turn on the light. And when I said this to him, he goes, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. It just struck him so deeply and profoundly. And I walked out of there like, oh my God, that was such an incredible exchange. And now I had forgotten all about my troubles, you know. It's like, it was perfect. You know, one of the parts I struggled with when I was telling you about the book that wrote the 7 C's, it talked a lot about success. Now, I'm not opposed to success, but I think a lot of us look for success more from an external point of view than we do from an internal point of view. And reading the book Krishnamurti, who was any of you read Krishnamurti before? Yeah, he's written many books, but he's a mystic philosopher. He fully awoke, and he said, give up all your ambitions. Now, that would not sit well with a lot of people, and I mentioned that to our mutual friend the other day, and he's like, what do you mean by that, you know? I said, there's nothing I want or need to attain anymore. I don't need to, you know, become famous. I don't need to become this or become that. In fact, my very task is letting those things go, coming back to a place of just the nothingness of who I am. And we got talking about it, and there was clarity around letting go of ambitions actually keeps you from feeling like you have to find some way to manipulate life in some way, right? Like, I'm going to create this life to make it so grand, and this is what I want. I have no judgment about it at all. None. You can try to create anything you want, but I will say this. There's nothing to create. Everything we need, the truth of who we are, is here right now in each one of us. I don't care what you've done or what you think you've done or that you're not enough or whatever. The truth of who you are is right here, right now. That love, that peace, that joy. And so for me, the more I let go of my ambitions and let go of my need to figure things out, I'm finding God has given me every single thing I need. And I mean that. God is giving every single one of us exactly what we need. God is taking such good care of us. But we forget that because our minds tell us we're not enough. Our minds tell us we need to figure this out. I'm inviting you once again to let go of your need to figure things out and trust and have faith that God will provide you the clarity and the answer when it's needed. And that's something the book wasn't talking about. I go, I have to talk about this. This is the truth. It's like we have absolutely everything we need to be at peace and enjoy and love, no matter what's going on in the world. No matter what's going on in the world. And I know we look out in the world, we go, oh my God, the world is on fire. You know, the country's on fire. It feels like that. Sometimes it feels like that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But be aware of that thought behind it. Be aware of that feeling behind it. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. If I even have the feeling of I hate this, I am present with my hate. I'm present with that because there's nothing else to do but to be aware of it and be present with it. And it's through that awareness and that presence that it keeps moving things through, and you come back to a place of clarity and truth. I don't think I have anything else more to share than that. I would say just be gentle with yourself. It's really hard letting go of our need and our desire to figure things out because we're so attached to this body and this mind, and we identify with ourselves as a form. But the more I let go of this idea that I'm this body and I'm this mind, because Jesus said the kingdom is at hand, right? Like everybody's waiting to get to heaven, to die. But Jesus is like, no, you don't have to die to get clarity on who you are. All you need to do is come back to a place of being present and allowing life to unfold the way it is. But that presence has nothing to do with the body and the mind. There's an intelligence and there's a wisdom that's beyond that. And the more you give up that need or desire to figure things out, you will more clearly see that, I promise you. Thank you so much.